as much carbon as you'll use in your lifetime. Now this may not store that much carbon, I don't know. You'd have to have somebody that knows something. I don't know all that much about this except what I physically can feel. So this is it. This is what I would do. Instead of sending them $75 or the tree people. Let me tell you what I know about the tree people. I had my 15 minutes of fame on the Venice Boardwalk selling fruit in 1974 when the national cameras came out and took our new beach and made a big splash out of it nationwide. And the tree people, they were coming down the boardwalk talking about planting these trees and all this. And I asked them, well, what are you going to plant? They didn't know. So maybe, they planted good trees, I don't know. But they're talking about now they're going to plant oak trees so they help feed the animals. Weren't they planting oak trees before? I don't know. Anyway, then I go to a thing in Griffith Park, and there's some of these trees there, but they're all weirded out. I'll show you what happens if they're not in a fire. This is in this video.
Okay.
And I was at this thing, and Greenpeace had a table. And I thought, well, man, he's talking. I see this guy's telling them about this trees, this picture of this river, and these trees are going to cut down and make paper out of them, and he's got this song and dance going. I'm like, wow, man, I'll just give him one of my papers about these trees and how we, do this in the desert. And I started talking to the guy, and I says, here, take a couple of my papers. And he says, well, is that recycled paper? I said, no, he says, where do you get the paper from? I said, Kinko's. He says, I can't take that, it's not recycled paper. I told the guy, I says, what you got here is religion, not something about facts. This is a piece, I grow more carbon, I store more carbon than any paper I'm ever going to use. It's just bizarre what these people do. So you need to do it yourself. I mean, it's all about independence. That's what it is, the Declaration of Independence. So we're going to go from here, we're going to go through from South Euclid all the way up to where this the last trees the Spaniards cut. And I want to do that now. It's 8 o'clock now, and the Santa Ana winds are starting to blow. These were called by the Spaniards the devil winds. I don't know exactly why, if it was because the Indians used to get over the San Fernando Valley on one end and light it off, and it would burn all the way through Malibu, which in my lifetime I've seen the fire go out of the valley and burn all the way to Malibu. In my lifetime, I've seen that fire. So and there was another thing that the Spaniards said, that you could walk across the San Fernando Valley and never step in the sun because of the oak trees. In the old cowboy movies that were filmed up in what was called Corriganville, up in the eastern side of northeastern corner of that valley, the San Fernando Valley, you could see these cowboys riding along and this track, and you could see underneath all these oak trees. The reason you can see underneath them is because they burned them all the time. If you hadn't burned them trees, they'd just be bush. They just grow from everywhere the light hits it. But once they get a big canopy on them and you burn them underneath, then you get these huge trees that were there. They're on the 101, just as you're leaving the San Fernando Valley, just past Shoup, heading north, you'll see a Vons store on the south side that has a huge tree. I saw a tree bigger than that kill itself. It was 9 foot across the base, and up in Agoura, just above there. The limbs were about 50 feet from the trunk where they hit the ground, and they grew out another 50 feet. This tree covered well over 200 feet, well over 200 feet. You could drive a truck underneath it. The limbs were 13 feet off the ground. It was the most beautiful tree I ever saw, except that it had been in a fire for probably 75 years or 100 years ever since white man came here. And it was about 225 or 250 years old, somewhere in that area. That's how old the tree was. So anyway, I wanted to show you this wind, I'll tell you that. And I'm going to read this. This is what I pass out at every one of these song and dances I go to, these protests. last one. I thought, I give my address, phone number, where you can get the seeds, just send me a self-addressed stamped envelope. One person called me. I thought maybe they want to do this video with me. We'd do, never called back. So this is maybe fruitful, but maybe not. Maybe somebody will redo this. Every address will be here. You can do it yourself. I mean, this is all about independence. But I want to read this. This is what I start off with, and then I do something on the back page. I've done this since 1991, during Papa Bush's war. And then I went down there the Saturday after to the federal building. And I wrote this, and I wrote something else on the back. So it's a veteran's view of this war. Since then, I've crossed out this. I have no problem walking between those who are with war and those who are against this war. This is our right, and I can only encourage all our people to use this right that I have sworn to uphold, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. This is the symbol of the Army, the symbol of the United States, for a reason, too. On Saturday morning, January 19th, 1991, ABC TV had a war update. Then they had a segment for the children to help them understand this war. Remember that the war started while the children's program was on, before you had all these different channels. 91, this is like ancient history. One of the children they interviewed was an 8-year-old girl who said, if President Bush and President Hussein were women, we would not be in this war. If there is a just battle cry in this war, this should be it. I must tell you what Hugh Downs said on ABC Radio on a Sunday morning in October 1988. One of the reasons that the Constitution was written behind locked doors and closed windows may have been that Ben Franklin was basing much of the government on our Iroquois Indians, where the women had impeachment power over the leaders. With this government, they were able to bring 6 warring tribes together under a peaceful existence for hundreds of years before white people came here. A symbol is a powerful means to give to many people something to believe in. I must remind you to look at at the back of our first Veterans Bill, the dollar. That's this symbol of the United States. Not the 13 arrows that represent the commander-in-chief, not the olive branch that represents peaceful election by the people, or the shield of the 13 states, but the 13 stars for those who have paid the price. This was the last, if this was the last symbol he would see, can we afford to forget him now? This is, when they're talking about this song and dance about these guys dying over there and all that, war. In war we must think of peace. The symbol of peace in Western religions, all three, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, is the cedar tree of Lebanon. An Arab American said, my fear is that this war could make the whole area as hopeless as Lebanon. Since this symbol is under or over such madness, we must look to another symbol. Yes, we are truly where two worlds collide. PBS had a program on the power of myth with Bill Moyers and an expert on the subject named Campbell. What I came away from this with is very simple. The Western religions believe that Earth is secondary, and the Eastern religions believe that the Earth is primary. This makes our Indians' religion, one with nature, much easier to understand. Without the art of writing, which almost always was a loss of the rights of women, I see our Indians carried this true Eastern religion here. This is why I see it was so easy for the tribes of the Iroquois to give this just power of government to those who cared for the future, the children and the land, because the Indian women also were the farmers. I called a chief of the Mohawk tribe, Jake Swamp. I asked him for the name of one of these first women to hold this just power. He gave me the name of the first one, Chin Sensei, or I don't want to really pronounce this because I know I got it wrong. It's Jigonsase. The word means new face. He told me about 1,000 years ago a peacemaker came to the tribe and chose her to help in establishing